Welcome back, Justice Khan. We are here with Clay Enos and Christina. I'm so sorry. Can you help me with your last name? Cabanban?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So, can you guys introduce yourselves for the people at home who don't know who you are?
Ladies first.
Oh, I'm Kristine. I am Clay's wife, handsome hunk over here, and I'm a jewelry maker. I design and make jewelry, which is available for sale on my website, KristineCabanban.com, and also on Vera.
And I'm Clay Enos. I'm a unit photographer. I've made a bunch of images for Zack Snyder's films, starting with Watchmen, and together we make up a kind of creative duo. And honestly, we've just been lucky enough to pursue artistic paths in our lives, and that's probably why we're here to some extent. Right? That we've been able to, make some sacrifices and pursue our art and share it with the world. And it just so happens that I make images that are particularly relevant to a certain subset of the population.
Perfect. Well, you guys are actually, you guys are out there in the world right now because of your work, Clay. So can you tell us a bit more about that? Where are you now? What you're doing? What you're working on, if you can disclose?
Yeah, I'll just say that I'm on a movie that's shooting post COVID-19, in the post COVID-19 world. So it's pretty exciting, and we're making the best of it, and so far so good. And I think it's a nice sign that the world is getting back to normal, and that film and storytelling through film that we all learned was quite a cornerstone of our lockdowns. New content is coming, and that's nice. It's sort of reassuring.
Are we allowed to say that?
I'm in Berlin. We're in Berlin.
Are you working on any projects you can say the name or?
I'm not sure. I don't think it's a big secret. You need to Google. But I'm working for Sony Studios, and we're working at the Babelsberg film studios here in Germany. We're not the only studio getting to work, and it's pretty fun.
Well, thank you.
Masked up and ready.
I forgot to say this in the intro. For everyone in the chat, just letting you know, we pre-screened questions earlier this week. So we will mostly be doing the questions that were submitted by everyone on Twitter and Vero, and we'll mostly not be pulling from the live chat. So moving from that. So question that I have for Kristine. So how do you keep producing your jewelry pieces when you're constantly moving around with Clay?
Yeah, that's actually kind of a game that I have to play. So I produce mostly in New York, partially at home, and then partially at a shared metal working space in Brooklyn called Brooklyn Metalworks. So when we are home, and I was doing this a lot during the lockdowns, I try to make as much inventory or work on new pieces as much as possible. I have been lucky enough that a couple places that he's worked in the past have had a place for me to go work, but I haven't found that here. So I didn't bring any of my tools, but when that happens, then I focus on developing new pieces and designing and drawing, and also catching up on all the stuff that I've been needing to learn about and read about. So that's what I've been getting up to. I am hoping to get some work done. There is a jewelry studio here. I'm sure there's a few. I reached out to see if I can work out of there, but I haven't heard back. It's COVID, so you don't really know what the policies are.
Well, hopefully it works out for you. I mean,
yeah, I hope so too. But at the same time, my design teacher and my rendering teacher will probably be super happy if I knocked out like 15 or 20 renderings for him, so that he can actually see that all the time he spent on me is not for naught. But and also we're here for a few months, so timing wise, it would just work out if I can develop all the stuff that I want to put out for the holiday season, get back home, make them, and then put them out into the world.
So, question for Clay. Can you elaborate your method of capturing the perfect shot?
Wow.
Loaded question.
That assumes a perfect shot, which happens rarely, right? Look, like all things artistic, you have to get a little lucky. You have to be kind of anticipate on a movie set. Let's just use that. If there is a perfect shot out there for someone, it was most likely made with a whole lot of luck, and also resting on the skills and talents of everyone around me, right? It was probably lit by Fabian or Larry, right? It was costumed up by, millions of dollars were spent towards making that image possible to render, right? And so then it's just up to me to, in a sense, honor that work. I don't know if my method is describable, other than I love what I do and I move with an enthusiasm and an attentiveness that should reflect that. But a perfect shot is a rare thing. Make a lot of shots, and so then it's just also sometimes not up to me which image you see. There's 50,000 pictures made on a movie, and you're going to see a couple dozen in the press kit. So that somebody else made those final choices. I might have swayed them one way or the other, given a little love to the image ahead of time. But in the end, how it gets used and where it's seen is ultimately not up to me. There is an aspect too of repetition, right? So seeing an image over and over again has a way of, cementing itself in your mind and becoming a favorite. Whether or not it's the strongest image is another story. A little like music or any other thing, right? The more you hear it, the more it's sort of find your head moving along to it.
That's true. I also have the tendency that whatever I do, the more I look at it, the more mistakes I find. But that's me.
Me too.
I don't know how you can choose like one or two shots. So, like not like when you're like dozens at a time.
Look, there's a lot of time is spent deleting images, right? So it isn't after a day's shooting, if there's 1,000 pictures or 2,000 pictures, half of them will just get deleted because there's redundancies and things like that. But every once in a while, like an image just stands out. I don't think it's different with any creative endeavor. You sort of bang away at it, and then there's a little brightness, something that resonates, and you move towards it. And you learn from it too. Even your mistakes are kind of, incredibly informative towards doing it again the next time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to add to that, I have another jewelry teacher that I love who teaches wax carving for jewelry. And she always says that her first try is her fact-finding mission. So that if it doesn't work out, then you're not upset because it wasn't your final piece anyway. But she does find that when she goes in with that mindset, she nails it on the first try.
Wow.
That's nice. She's
That's
skilled.
interesting.
A little bit in the movies, they rehearse, and I can watch the shot. I can sort of pay attention to what the critical moment is. Also, where my space might be among the cameras and the grips and things like that. And so it's important for me to watch and assess, and then go in to try and get it. And so that's not necessarily it's iterative, right? And then on take two, maybe is when I really felt it. And then I get greedy and try it again on take three.
Well, my question for you both is, how did you get, because you're both creatives in your own right, for different things. What made you choose this path? Like what, at what point did you decide this is what you want to do, and kind of what drove you to, to this path? And
Want me to start? Look, I wasn't much of a student in high school. It sort of was patently obvious that I wasn't a born mathematician or reader. So the artistic path was an obvious one. Back when I was applying to university, communications was kind of a buzzword, and I thought that seemed appropriate. You know, maybe I wouldn't have to do a ton of reading or do a lot of math or know a lot of science. Of course, that's somewhat true. And anyway, so that's where I went. I fell in love with photography. And so it was initially just an avoidance of the traditional academics and became a passion. And of course, coming out of college, I didn't do it right away. I wasn't, kicked out into the real world and became a photographer. The world was developing fast with the World Wide Web's invention and Photoshop's invention. And so all that stuff percolated for almost a decade before an opportunity presented itself and I could call myself a photographer. It was always in the back of my mind to work for myself and to have that independence. And I'm as close to that as possible these days, but still, of course, work for studios. And I still have to look for work. I'm not just wandering the planet doing whatever I can. But that's the long and short of it, I guess.
Well, I always liked working with my hands, even as a kid. You know, I started making little beaded jewelry for my family, which I've been told that beading is the gateway drug. Metalsmith, and I have a family that's in their own way creative. My mom's good with her hands and crafty. My dad builds things, and my brother's a musician. And but growing up, my cousin went to communications and for college, and I thought that I wanted to do that as well because I didn't know that you can pursue jewelry as a career. So I was actually in post-production for about 8 years. I worked in a sound studio, which is how I met Clay, but that's another story. And then when we started dating, I saw him hardly ever. You know, we would maybe be together half the year because I had a regular office job. And then after a while that became unsustainable and we had to make a decision. And it was a good jumping off point for me to finally start my own business because I'd been putting it off for so long. And at all that time, because we live in New York City where there were plenty of classes and metalsmithing classes and wax carving classes available, I was learning and honing my skills. And then I launched my business. And it was finally, my brother told me too, he's like, you keep waiting until you're ready or until you're good enough, but what if you just have to do it? Because if you keep saying that to yourself, you're just gonna keep waiting. So just do it.
That's amazing advice.
I was more comfortable with that life, right? I have a few years on Kristine, so to kind of have her back and reassure her that the artistic path is possible, and that we support each other in that it was a no-brainer. Look, movie making is not family friendly because of the time, the hours, the travel, things like that. So having the independence of a non-office job and to build an artistic career that can move was a no-brainer.
That's just beautiful that you guys really you seem to support each other. Just it's so nice to see because you don't always see that with couples who take an artistic path.
Yeah, look, we're super lucky.
Yeah, we're very lucky.
But you could do that on a lot of things. It's just you make sacrifices, right? If I had stayed doing something 9 to 5, maybe I'd have a fatter bank account, or I'd be more, I don't know, I'd be an expert in some place that I hadn't imagined, right? Ultimately, hard work and discipline and passion should fuel whatever you do. Yeah. We just happen to be artsy.
That said, and adding to that, I feel like because I was working in media as well, I've worked with a lot of talented people, and the company I was working for, they do audio for TV and radio commercials. But there's a lot of people who do that during the day and then, cut or, edit sound or make short films that they want to pursue during the nights and weekends. So, the commercials, advertising is where is their bread and butter, but that allows for them to do the stuff that they really want to do on the side. And somebody said, and it always stuck with me, he says, we do what we do so we can do what we want.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun too.
It's not career advice necessarily, but there is sometimes an advantage to being in a career that's somewhat similar. Right? I was a graphic designer for years, and I pushed their aesthetic towards photography, and then had the office buy my first digital camera. Had them buy a digital camera that I would use all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Sort of, I think there's value in playing that game. Find a niche or move over to that department that has maybe some of the same gear, right? So folks in audio post can use the equipment when it's not for a client.
Mm-hmm.
Just sort of work the system that way is always a good way to get your feet on the ground in some place.
Yeah, because a lot of those places are very generous with their resources. Like the mixers that I worked with, they would just use this, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of sound engineering equipment, the best speakers in the world, to mix their own stuff. No one minded. You do that if the room is available.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, and sometimes they don't even have to know. I run a little more, deviant.
Can you tell us which film you guys met on?
Oh, so we didn't meet on a film. So actually, the post-production house that I used to work for, they're called Sonic Union. They're great. If anyone ever needs any of their services, one of the sound engineers there, his name is Rob, was an old roommate of Clay's.
And it was going to visit him
Or,
that I spied with my little eye.
I have more hair than Rob.
That's how we encountered each other.
Yeah, it was just crazy. I mean, they were roommates out of college for 3 years in Brooklyn. And then how many years later? Like 20 years later, we met.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Life has mysterious ways.
Yeah, it was after it was just before Sucker Punch. I wrote a Vespa entry, and I think Facebook had just introduced the like button.
Oh yeah.
And
hang on. Sorry. Backstory. When Clay walked into the office, I knew immediately who he was because Rob had mentioned to me before about his friend Clay, and I looked him up and found his website and got immediately starstruck. His work is awesome, and also he was really cute. So when he walked into the office, I immediately knew he was. And then Facebook happened.
And then she Facebook stalked me.
And then
well, actually, it was you're driving a Vespa across country, and one person kept liking all my pictures. Huh. How about that?
That's adorable. Okay, so I have a question for Kristine. They say, "Hey, Kristine, your work is beautiful. What is one dream project that you have always aspired to do?"
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was a cool question. So I have one finished idea for a piece that's inspired by the Philippines. I mean, I have pieces already that are on sale that are Philippine inspired, but I hope to make a high-end, high carat collection of one-of-a-kind pieces inspired by the Philippines. And so I'm working on that collection at the moment. Obviously, that doesn't have a deadline. And because I also want to be able to somehow in the future find artisans in the Philippines, because there's a lot of talented goldsmiths over there. Mm-hmm. Find people who can help me, bring the collection to fruition, sort of give back, and then, learn with them. And so that's my dream. Once there's a few $1,000s to play with,
right?
For that, but also it's just hard because a lot of people have manufacturing in other countries, but because we live primarily in New York City, and I grew up in Manila, that's like halfway around the world. So I have to be able to figure out how to make that happen, especially because I can't even get there right now.
it's fun to think that she wants to collaborate. Filmmaking is very much a collaborative project, right? It's not, we have directors and there's all the hierarchical departments beneath that. But it's kind of neat to think that we're both sort of have this collaborative artistic endeavor. We could take a lot of credit for ourselves and our work, but really we're just a piece of this puzzle. We may be the last, our name goes under it, but it's never done in this, all by ourselves.
For sure. Oh, which reminds me, actually, there was a question on Twitter that was asked that I just wanted to clear up, because his name is Omesh Singh. He says, which character opened up the most exciting possibilities for you in terms of design? What piece makes you the happiest to see on screen? And I wanted to clear up that Clay said that person probably thinks that I made the pieces for Zack's movies, but I did not, because there's a wonderful, I have met some of the people who make those amazing pieces, and they're incredible. That's probably, I mean, while I do like the characters and they're great and it's nice to hang out with them, I get the most starry-eyed when Clay takes me to the costume department and the art department.
I would. I love everything that goes into costuming, into like what it goes into of someone's appearance on screen. So I would probably be exactly the same.
Yeah.
I'm going to shout out though, Patty Jenkins wears this necklace.
I
I
saw there's a bracelet that Zack wears that you made.
Oh yeah, he wears that.
I have actually a bit of a self-indulgent question. Do you have any thoughts about possibly making the rest of jewelry based on the rest of the zodiac?
Oh, I have been asked that a few times. I will just keep the Taurus, but I have made other pieces custom for friends. So we'll talk.
So how did you meet Zack, Clay?
Well, his wife Deborah and I went to college together, and so that friendship that emerged, that started at freshman year, had, and actually both her and her roommate freshman year is Anna Obrupta, who's the producer on the Wonder Woman films. So it's an amazing, just random, fortuitous encounter that from which a friendship emerged and has remained. And it's quite something.
That sounds like one hell of a class.
Yeah.
School.
It wasn't until I went to the set of 300 when I even knew there was a unit photographer as a job. Wow. We went up socially one winter weekend to Montreal where 300 was filmed, and was on this movie set, impressed twofold by all the physiques of the dudes who were, the stunties and the others, and the training regimen, which was one huge piece of inspiration in my life, and then the other was seeing the unit photographer doing his thing, and I thought, wow, that would be fun to try.
Yeah.
That film was obviously a phenomena, and Zack had the leverage to invite me onto the set of Watchmen, so that was my first film.
So did the two of you ever have cameos in any of his films?
We both had cameos.
Yeah. Yes.
My first one was, and really the only real one, was in Watchmen. I'm in the background as a soldier in Vietnam, as the comedian Dr. Manhattan, or I think a comedian's flame throwing the enemy. And am I BBS too? Oh, in the Ultimate Cut, right. When in the Ultimate Cut of BBS, the filming of Superman's funeral was so top secret, we used only crew and really close friends. And so in the Ultimate Cut, you can see me, my imaginary wife and child walking in procession.
Yeah, you just reminded me that Debbie's in that as well.
Debbie's in that. Eamon Hariri's in that. There's a bunch of folks in there. Trisha Todd, one of the business effects supervisors.
Your daughter is Kimmy's daughter.
Yeah, the script supervisor. That's really fun. Obviously we needed to keep that a secret, and so that you had to have a trusted bunch around you. We were in that crew.
And I was in PBS as well because Zack was kind enough to let me play, and it was really fun. And that was actually one of the Twitter questions, I think. What was it like to be in PBS? It was awesome. It was really fun.
What scene were you in?
Hostage girl number 3.
When Batman comes in and saves the women caged below.
You got to be one of the girls who were too scared to come out.
Correct.
Yes, correct.
I was so proud to tell her mom that I got her the perfect role.
Actually, so that's right. And it was really fun because I've visited set a bunch, of course, at that point, but then to actually to have a role in it for that one night was fun. And our friend Victoria and Willow Snyder helped do my hair and makeup.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always really fun. I mean, maybe once a year, if you're going to a wedding or something, you get done up by somebody. And I just think that's such a nice pampering experience, even though they were trying to make me look like I'd been crying for 12 hours.
It still feels nice. And you feel like so glamorous. And then you look in the mirror and you're like, oh.
Totally. And then Michael Wilkinson picked the outfit for me. It was really sweet.
So just to debunk the rumor, you have not yet cameoed as an Amazon.
No, yeah, there was an article, and thank you for bringing that to my attention. I wrote them, and I think they corrected it. That was next.
Pixie Late.
Pixie Late, yeah, that was Pixie Late. I wish I could be an Amazon. I'm just not quite tall enough or quite muscular.
She's been training. We'll see.
I've been training.
I think you'd make great Amazon, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that people on Twitter should let Zack know if he ever needs an Amazon cameo.
We'll start a campaign.
Yeah, starting today.
We're good at those.
The fan base is pretty powerful.
You guys should just revel in your successes and
exactly.
not spend more energy.
Exactly, because that's it. I would have to be in the gym 10 times a week, and that's what they did.
You're just you're an artist. You prefer that instead of like weight training.
I do like weight training.
Oh, you do?
Definitely not 10 times a week.
Cabanban.
Ooh, it's got a nice ring to it.
Well, actually, a little bit of trivia. Speaking of weight training, the costumes department of Justice League made Zack and me a present of 2 beautiful leather weight belts. And maybe you've seen that. Zack's posted a picture of his. I posted a picture of mine, and they're gorgeous. And so somebody gives you a gift like that, you gotta pull some weight, man. So,
no excuses then.
Exactly.
There's unbelievable talent on a movie set.
Yeah.
There's so many deep and invisible people, and it was fun to have those skill sets so sort of indulgently showered on us.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, we have a question for Clay from Claire. When working on set, do you find yourself adjusting your style / the way you shoot to the film you're working on?
Yeah, I think you do. I think if anything, you're going to give the images the look that the DP and the director have kind of decided upon, and that's all been done way before I arrived. Most recently, on Zack's film for Netflix, Army of the Dead, he was shooting in a particular way that I decided to try and emulate as best I could with a different set of lenses. And it actually carried on to other films. So yeah, you do your best to, because you're not in, it's not like I'm just here to make pictures of anything I'd like. No, I'm there to reflect the storytelling as it will be presented.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm not there to apply my own vision or aesthetic. So I will adapt. If they're shooting a wide, I will probably very simply try and do the same thing, and then go in for the tights that would be harder to get later. yeah, I do. It's kind of fun. You know, you push yourself a little bit. On Army of the Dead, shooting with fixed lenses was a first for me on set, and just fixed lenses, not being able to make the decision to shoot with the 35 and be stuck with the 35 for that whole take. It was kind of cool and challenging, and at the same time, ultimately, it was quite liberating because I didn't have to decide if I was going to zoom in a little bit or widen out. I was stuck with it, and I made the best of it.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm
Being
seeing.
adaptable as an artist, being adaptable is, I think, part of that's what makes you a decent artist, is you're not sort of stuck. And if you do get stuck, it probably gets old and frustrating, and then you become a jaded artist.
Yeah.
No, nobody wants that.
No one wants that.
People are asking, I know we're pulling this from the chat, but people are asking about your favorite camera. Like what if you have a favorite preferred
Yeah,
light.
I don't think we should get too hung up in that. Any camera, pinhole, phone, or fancy Leica will do the trick, and you work with those tools, right? Generally, a painter works with paint on canvas or a piece of paper or a wall, right? They're the science of rendering light through a lens onto an emulsion or a chip is somewhat independent of the gear. And I'm really gear agnostic. I think you work with the cheapest, most available thing you have and work it to death. And only then, once you've sort of satisfied every angle, every possible thing you can do with it, do you decide if you're sufficiently, that you need to upgrade or downgrade. But that's it. I think gear is a distraction, and it's particularly predatory with the marketers to just take money out of your pocket and not let you, I don't want to get on a rant, but like use the camera in your phone to its maximum potential before you go dumping money into SLRs. And I'm not trying to like walled garden and make my stuff more special as a result. I just think that there's a lot to learn even on a phone.
And most of the personal stuff you've been posting are iPhone.
Yeah. I mean, the phone, and I have a nice relationship with Xiaomi now, and they sent me this unbelievable phone with 104 megapixels. It's just unbelievable. Yeah, like it's going so fast on that front, and it ultimately a good photo. No one looks at the history of photography and generally asks, so what did they shoot that on? They're captivated by the story or the narrative or the image for other reasons, and I think we should stay focused on that. Make strong work on whatever you've got.
You and Zack make crazy magic with iPhones.
Look, there's a sensitivity that we're steeped in this stuff. We spend all day, every day looking at light, thinking about stuff. We know we have a bag of tricks in our minds from previous use, or just from paying attention, and we can tap those, right? And at the same time, there's always a little bit of magic. And just that photography is unique in that it reflects the person holding the camera rather subconsciously. And I think that's really fun, interesting, liberating. And so I encourage everyone to explore photography, to do service to the muses, and to be creative. It's really there for us, more than ever.
You always tell me that because Clay is obviously always taking photos of us wherever we are. And when we're with family or with a group of friends and Clay takes a photo of the group, people always say, but you have to be in this too. And you always say, I am in it. Like, his thumbprint is in it. You can tell, in a way, you can tell who took it.
That's neat.
But then you're also good at this.
There you go. I don't know if it was Steichen, but somebody, some renowned photographer of old said that every portrait or every photograph is a self-portrait. And I think that's a kind of an interesting idea. You're in the picture whether you're rendered on the emulsion or the chip. You're in it because you made it. It's a little like Zack, right? Like Zack makes films. He doesn't have to be in it to know that it's Zack's work.
Right.
Exactly.
That's fun. Right? And I think all art of a sufficient merit would have the same rules apply.
Well, your photos, like especially with DC characters, have become very iconic. Like whenever people want to post a picture, like a portrait or a picture in general of certain characters, they'll pull from usually your work.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. I mean, there's 80 years of, or 80 plus years of Batman and Superman as drawings, and they go to the photographs, the more recently created photographs, as their choice. That's awesome. I mean, it's unbelievable, and testament to these characters, and testament to just our modern age.
And then sometimes you see people with tattoos of the Joker.
Yeah, where did we see that recently? We saw someone in the airport, and they had
Wow.
my Joker photo tattooed on their
That's
bicep.
crazy.
I didn't say anything because I'm like, maybe he didn't like it. Maybe he regretted that. So,
If they tattooed it on their body, I think they liked it.
yeah, I don't know. I have no tattoos. I don't know if there's tattoo regret when it sets in.
Right.
I just stay out of it. It's fun to see.
Yeah,
It's
there
fun to
is
see.
tattoo regret. That's why there's laser.
There you go. Look, the point being though that these characters are way bigger than my photographs, and my photographs are just the latest iteration. They're in a medium that is currently the sort of the way we like to have our world rendered, right?
Mhm.
We've photography is the Mac Daddy right now, and I include film in that respect. And yet Superman is way bigger. Wonder Woman is more than just that photograph. That photograph is just the culmination of a huge history. It was previously the domain of illustrators, and now it's come into this world where we can render it on film. And I just happen to be a wonderful beneficiary of that. And I'm not trying to be like overly modest. It's just the nature of things. In the future, there'll be some crazy VR version of Wonder Woman, and you'll be talking to that person.
Very interesting question in the chat, so I'm going to throw that at you. Did you photograph the "You Can't Save the World Alone" Alex Ross inspired poster?
Yes. In fact, it was. I have to admit my own ignorance here, but Eamon Hariri owns that painting, and I had seen that painting in his Impossible collection, and I was inspired by it. I just thought it was cool, right? It's a beautiful quality of light. And so when we were doing the gallery shoot for Justice League, I thought it'd be fun to just quickly bang the two, the orange light from below, the white light from above, and just bring everybody into that light. We shot 10, 20 frames, and it was just a little gratuitous extra that I asked everyone to do as an homage to Alex Ross. Now, I was so stupid. I thought Alex Ross was dead. I just thought it was a painting from the 20s or something. I didn't know, right? Or the 40s. I had no idea that he was younger than me. And then all of a sudden, the image, I have no idea. The poster gets made. Again, all that's done after the fact. I'm not part of the decision making there. And there's 100 variations of creative ideas that get bandied about long after I've made the images. So the poster comes out, and Alex Ross, I think, tweeted something like, and I'm like, what? He's alive!
And you did right now.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I was like so inspired by your work. That's what I had no idea they were going to make that the poster. I'm delighted, of course. And so it kind of worked. It's this lovely thing where there's two resurrections.
I love that. Like
Alex Ross and Superman. That's good. That's a good duo.
I have a question here from Tim about the use of your photos. It says for Clay, with the liberal use of your photos by fans around social media without attribution as the source of these, how does it make you feel when you see that? Would you like to see fans do things differently out of respect for your work and others?
Oh, look, again, it's that same idea. Wonder Woman is bigger than me. I just made the picture. I'm a work for hire, if you want to get into the nitty gritty legalese. I make those images, they belong to Warner Brothers. When Warner Brothers, or when it runs in the New York Times and there's a little credit of my name in Warner Brothers, that's a nice gesture, but it's not at all required. I think that these images should live and inspire way beyond credit. I think there's I don't get hung up on it.
Okay.
Well,
Look, I suppose it's all contextual a little bit, but in general, if you're just a fan and you love Superman or Batman and you want to share that picture, go nuts. Half the time you would have no idea it was mine, right? It's out there. It's
Right.
millions of copies on the internet. I say use them, inspire people, use them for good, just like the heroes they are.
Use them for good and not evil.
Yeah.
so I would say that's for this specific instance, but I do feel like photos in general that people make.
True.
That's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. There is something to be said for if you're making images that aren't that kind of closer to the public domain, right, or in the zeitgeist for a century, or Wonder Woman, Superman. I think then when you're using other people's work, give credit where credit is due, where appropriate. Make an effort toward it. It's nice because in a sense you've been inspired enough to reshare something. Share the love.
Mm-hmm.
Dig around a little bit. Find out who made it. That's fun. Right? And I think that's just an honorable thing to do. You can't always do it, but do your best.
Some people online have been wanting to know. The other day, Gal tweeted out a photo of her with her scarf over her face saying wear a mask, and people wanted to know, did you happen to take that picture?
I did.
It looked like one of yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was an excellent use of one of my pictures.
Where was that photo taken? If you can
That was
tell us.
taken. Yeah, I won't say just because that's not for me to say per
Right.
se, but I think it was a wonderful, it's the right message, I guess, and
Right.
and a fun use of the Wonder Woman iconography.
Are there any plans for any more DC portrait sort of books?
Look, I would love it, but books aren't. So in this work for hire world, I make images that get brought into the machine of Warner Brothers in this case, and should consumer products deem a book an appropriate thing, then they get to do that. They don't consult me. I'd love it, of course. When the Watchmen portrait book came out, I was more than delighted. And it would be fun to see something like that down the line. And even if it's not exclusively all my work now, there's been a unit photographer on Aquaman. There was another photographer on the second Suicide Squad. Maybe down the line, maybe a decade in, we'll amass something
That would be pretty cool.
celebrate
That
everybody's
would
work.
be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I got ideas, but I'm not sure they're listening.
Or
Look, you guys, again, I'm not calling for a campaign.
We did need one. I know who to call.
But right, like it's a tricky one, right? We're steeped in this space, but for them to commit to the giant printing presses and the distribution of a book, they can't tread into that lightly. They have to be assured of sales, and while I think it would sell, they have more data to make those decisions.
Okay, we have a question from Batmax for Kristine. What is the thought process behind the creation of your jewelry?
Yeah. So it usually starts in the shower,
Like all good ideas.
like all good ideas. But no, so there's a few ways I go about things. A lot of designs I toss around in my head. Sometimes I have a pattern or a motif or a dream project that I want to do when I'm ready. Sometimes I'll pick up things I did from a few years ago. But anyway, I'll think about it. Sometimes I'll sketch it out. Sometimes I'll just go to the bench and try it out. There are two methods I use to make jewelry, and the first one is the lost wax casting process, which basically you make a model from a block of wax, it's jeweler's wax, and then you take that to people who are specialized in casting. They would take your model, put it on a tree with other models, put this tree into a flask. They pour investment around it, which is kind of like plaster. They put it in a kiln. The wax melts out, so lost wax. And then they pour the metal into those cavities. And that's how usually a lot of organic pieces are made, organic looking pieces are made. So I do a lot of that. And then I also fabricate, which means I make it directly from, raw metal materials. And a lot of times I make it and what's in my head doesn't work out, or I need to make some changes, you prototype, try it out. Clay will give suggestions because he's kind of the beta tester sometimes because he wrecks everything.
I'm tough on things, yeah.
So if it survives him, then it'll probably survive. And then I put it out there. And of course, sometimes it clicks and people love it. Sometimes it doesn't. I take it down, I wear it, or I give it to my friends. But, it's all trial and error and, metaphorically banging your head against the wall sometimes.
Those processes too are it's more like the hipster with the film and the camera processes. The world of jewelry, has 3D printing as well, which is more like the digital camera thing. Mm-hmm. So they're digital for photographers arrived 20 years ago, pretty well. For jewelry, they're still shooting film for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these processes that we use are the same processes people have been using for thousands of years. It's amazing. I could talk about this all day, but the lost wax casting process is also how jewelry businesses make thousands of something, right? So you'll make a model. My jewelry wax carving teacher is a master model maker. So she's made a lot of these things that you would then have it cast. You get the metal piece back, say it's in silver, you perfect it, and then they'll make a master mold, and then they could produce hundreds of it.
Yeah, I think there's the recent Zales Wonder Woman jewelry, right? Someone carved it.
Yeah, someone made those models.
And then out they go.
And like to what Clay was saying before, it's a whole community of people who specialize in different parts of the process. There's model makers, there's CAD designers for 3D printing models. My casters are amazing. They've been doing that and they do only that. And especially in big houses like Tiffany's, for example, I heard that they have people who specialize in only one kind of stone setting. And that's the person who does that. And then they have a person who does another kind of technique, which, the downside of that is then when you go and try to apply for a job at a smaller company, then you'll be expected to do something other than that. So there's a lot of people who help me create what I make.
It's a little like, when I make a picture and then it's probably triple bid out to these firms that specialize in posters, and then hundreds of designers, or dozens of designers then all render their ideas and ultimately it's presented to the filmmakers and one of them is chosen or a couple of them are chosen. It's unbelievable amount of invisible forces, right? And people in any process. And I always think that we should all remember that when we give credit anywhere, that no one's doing this stuff by themselves.
And a lot for the jewelry industry, specifically on 47th Street of New York City, that's the Diamond District. So right. I highly suggest people, it's not glamorous at all, the Diamond District, but it's not glamorous, but there are, there's millions of dollars of commerce being done in that space. There are people who manufacture, there are people who sell stones, there are people who buy your gold back from you. And I haven't seen uncut gems, but I think it's set there, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I know, we can yammer on for a day.
No, we love it. And also it's so the way you guys can connect your two crafts, even though most people would think that they don't connect at all, but the way you guys can blend everything together, it's really great. It's really lovely.
Look, and on a lot of levels too, right? When you're frustrated artistically, that frustration doesn't get specific. You're just frustrated. You want to create, and you're stuck. And so when that happens to either of us, we know the feeling, and we can help each other through it.
Yeah, I always. Who was this? We talk about this all the time, the nature of inspiration and the muses, and it's while it's romantic to think that, you know, you like the spirit comes to you while you're walking down the street and you get an epiphany. I mean, sometimes that happens, but then you go back to your bench and you work it out, and then you spend 5 hours trying to create this thing that you had an epiphany about, and it's not easy. And I always like what my friend said, you know, the muses do find you, but they have to find you working.
Ooh, that's really good. I like
Yeah,
that.
that's a pretty good quote.
If you guys were in the careers that you are currently in, what do you think you'd be doing with your life?
I would be in post-production. I would be, it was so much fun. I had a great time. And I tell people that, you know, a lot of people want to be in the entertainment industry, but they don't realize how many job opportunities there are. And I really loved being in post. And I tell people who want to start out, it's pretty fun because a lot of these post houses, whether it's like an editorial house, a sound mixing house, like a VFX house, the offices are fun. They're not your traditional office space, and there's always parties happening and you network with your coworkers. There's cocktails at 5 for the clients and for you. And, you know, you get to meet a lot of really talented people. I would probably be students.
I'd probably be kind of one of those dirty guys on the side of the street. That would probably be where I'd be, honestly.
That explains the horrified look at the question.
Yeah.
Like
It's hard to know, right? I mean, life is funny. Life is mostly luck, and then you get lucky and you don't pass up those chances.
Yeah.
And the chance to come onto the set of Watchmen was life-changing. The chance of meeting Deborah Snyder freshman year was life-changing. I didn't know it then, but moving with sincerity and honesty and had helped along the way, right? But it all starts with luck, and then off you go. Be attentive. Be honest. Those are nice. I was raised like that, and it served me well.
Well,
That said, I would still be a dirtbag's hitchhiker. I wouldn't attack you or murder you. I would really appreciate the ride, and off we go.
Somebody needs to contact Zack for the next cameo he has you do. You could be a dirtbag hitchhiker.
It would be really good.
I could have.
You also say, wait, your one of your old Halloween costumes as a kid was a homeless person.
No, it was hobo. We were hobo.
But I don't
wow.
say that now.
Well, a hobo is like a hobo's
That's like
old timey, you know, jumping on the
That's
train.
okay.
That was
The stick with the
the stick and the bandana to this day. I see a little cartoon and there's a little waxing like nostalgia for my life I could have had. I don't see hobo as derogatory. I'm gonna take that back. I'm gonna be like that's my calling ultimately. And look, on some level, we filmmakers are hobos, right? We pack our stuff, we go up, we do our thing. We just don't travel in boxcars. We have business class tickets. You know what I mean, right? It's that kind of thing where you go, you're on a mission and you're wandering and you're curious. And that's always been my way.
Well, that's also, you know, a lot of life is luck, but you do like to say as well that you also have to put yourself in the way of that luck.
Yeah.
Taking opportunities.
That's true. That's true. Well, there's a question that keeps coming up. I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer that because I probably wouldn't if I were in your position. But it's a question for Clay. What's your most favorite photo or poster?
Look, it is a tendency to look for superlatives, right? The best, the most of something, the hardest, right? And I'm really bad at superlative answers. So my go-to on this front is that I haven't made my best photo yet. I haven't made my favorite photo yet. It dangles that carrot in front of me to keep working hard, to keep pushing myself artistically. And so the best is yet to come. Without sounding cliche, that's just my way of staying motivated, right?
Right.
Now, others can have favorites that I've made, but mine is in front of me.
That's a great way to look at it. Definitely. Like, 'cause I can't imagine, especially in what you do, being a photographer, it's like having a favorite and then always comparing every new photo to that alleged favorite. So that's actually that's really smart way to think about it.
Everything's contextual too, right? Because I may have a favorite in a specific space, right? Whether it's landscape or from a place. But overall, I mean, why would I even rank them? Why do we rank them? It's not, our lives aren't BuzzFeed articles, right?
You know what? That is on point.
I like that.
Your life is better than clickbait. And that make your life so rich and complicated they can't distill it into some nonsense article. Make it so just bananas that all they have to do is look on in awe.
I love it.
That's a tall order, but you get the spirit, right?
Yeah.
Just keep investing. Challenge the norm. Don't acquiesce.
Oh my God, I love that. Someone write that down.
Feeling so inspired after this conversation, for real.
Yeah. Look, I'm inspired by you guys, right? We're inspired as artists to know there's fans out there that know your name, that are enthusiastically supporting you and your endeavors. Holy crap, you're not gonna disappoint. I mean, and if you do, you feel really bad.
Right.
So we're in this together, and I'm grateful. There's legions of folks who are supportive and admiring and principled, and so the least we can do is try and inspire you to keep going and to be your best.
Yeah, I mean, the Snyder Cut movement is just
awesome.
It's just amazing.
We've got right for years.
It's such a win for anyone who ever wants to make something.
Right.
Yes. For artists everywhere who've been marginalized or slighted, it's an inspiration to see that forces can be moved the way they have.
We agree.
And we're really I think we can speak on behalf of the movement when we say thank you for kind of supporting us by occasionally posting one of your photos or throwing out support in whatever way that you can without breaking an NDA. It's really helped getting those little little motivational acknowledgements.
Well, you're very welcome, and I wish I could do more of that. But those NDAs.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Don't even say it.
I mean, I don't know if you saw Ray Fisher's panel the other day, but he has learned they can't tell you without a look.
Yeah, the NDA face.
NDA face.
Really
it's already been made into a meme, so you can look it up.
Look, I mean, I get it. There's so many players and parties and things, but I think ultimately when we're in the creative space, there's a lot of room for interpretation.
Yeah. And for my part, I want to thank you all. I mean, it's interesting because when you're starting a business and you're online only and you're trying to play this game of, which I am really bad at, I don't know anything about social media marketing. I post every so often and then just hope people see it and like it. But Vero and the fan base have been, and also of course Zack and Debbie and a bunch of our friends from the movies have been my best customers so far, aside from my family and friends, of course. But I just think, it really comes down to word of mouth. And first, the people who know you and like to support you buy your pieces, and then, and then the fandom sees it and they've been really supportive. So that's so much better than any kind of search engine optimization and gaming the Instagram algorithms, in my opinion. And all I did was.
Yeah, it's more like famdom, like familydom, not just family.
Well, I mean, you guys, this has been very inspirational, at least for me. I mean,
Yay!
So
wait,
many encouraging words.
Could I add what? There was a question that was
Yeah.
fun that I wanted to answer. Sorry.
Sure.
Who was? It was basically somebody was asking if we ever inspire each other in our work. I think all the time. You know, I think for me, I'm speaking personally, but you can tell me. But you know, because if you live a creative life, we're always doing goofy things. You know, he thinks about something and I model, I jump in the pool and he takes a cool picture in our friend's house in Jamaica. Or I think this would be really funny if you took a photo of me doing this. Or we make a goofy video to make our friends laugh, and all kinds of stuff that, you know, a creative life means just making stuff. It doesn't always have to be jewelry.
I don't just work for Warner Brothers. I'm the staff photographer at Kristine Cabanban Jewelry.
Well, that's
Look,
I think this is a good note to finish this on. Thank you guys so much for coming on today. It means a lot.
Yes. Congratulations again
Thank you
on everything you're doing.
Well,
If we ever need a campaign, we know who to call.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we're right here. Let us know.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you on FaceTime, Zoom. And our paths will
Thank you
come.
so much. Thank you so much for all the inspirational words, and yeah,